Hello and welcome back to Observing the Sabbath. I'm Nathaniel Molnar, and we are continuing on through the first 1970 studio album by Black Sabbath called Black Sabbath. We've already done Black Sabbath, we've done The Wizard, now we're continuing on our way, and right now we're going to be listening to Wasp / Behind the Wall of Sleep. And just a disclaimer, as I've said before, this isn't the kind of video where I'm listening to this for the first time. I've listened to all these songs many times before, which is why I'm kind of commentating and talking about the songs through the songs. I'm not really listening to it for the first time with open ears. I'm more taking it in and giving you all my thoughts as we kind of look at these songs within the contextual history of the bands themselves. So keep that in mind as you watch this video and the videos coming forth. We've been getting some very interesting comments and appreciation and love from people who've already enjoyed our videos so far. And to that, I just say thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And please come with us, continue with us, take my hand, we'll go riding as we continue our observation of the Sabbath. So without any further ado, let's listen to Wasp / Behind the Wall of Sleep. Classic Tony right here. See, that's something I really like about this album in general, is that it has a very strong blues influence. And while that's apparent through the rest of their music, I think it's most apparent here on their first album. I love that riff. And you can also get a real sense through this whole album that they recorded this and Paranoid were both recorded in a matter of a couple of days. I believe it was they had 2 days in the studio for this album. They had one day where they recorded it, and then the second day they mixed it. And first of all, it's incredible to me that the album is as good as it is, that it holds up, that it stands out as much as it does, and that it feels so precise and well crafted for it being done in such a abbreviated amount of time. But one of the things that really shines through, still with Paranoid, but especially with this album, Black Sabbath, is that it has that feeling of this is a live set that they're doing, because that's essentially how they recorded it. This whole album was their live set. They just went into the studio and they recorded it, what they were doing at their shows. And it has that sort of visceral nature, and you can tell just from listening to it, especially to Tony's riffs, and just how long the guitar solos go on, and it's not so much about, which we'll talk about as we go further into their songs, it's not so much about crafting songs to be big charted stuff on the radio. It's not about trying to bring in tons of people with, here's our new hit single by Black Sabbath. It's not about that. It's more just sort of the elongated experience that you would get from watching a show. And that's something I've always really appreciated about this album, is that you just have that all the way through. It just feels like you're watching a show, one of their live shows. And just from the way that the songs are constructed to just kind of the free-form nature of the guitar, it has that essence to it, and I've always really appreciated that. I love the offset when they mix it, the offset of the two tracks by Ozzy. One's like slightly off from the other, giving it that sort of echo effect. Good drums. You fade out with the drums. Now, the one that I'm listening to right now, it goes right into Basically, which goes right into NIB. I'm going to break it up because it's like altogether, it's like 9-something minutes. So I figure I'm going to do Wasp / Behind the Wall Sleep as one video, and then I'm going to do Basically and NIB as its own video. So, so that was Behind the Wall of Sleep. Really interesting song. Like I was saying as the song was going on, I really like the free-flowing nature of the guitar, and I've talked about this before with the other songs, but Black Sabbath as a band, they're all about growth and change and evolution, like everything's building upon each other. There's also another distinct quality to them, and it's kind of hard to verbalize exactly what I mean by this, but there's this feeling of travel and moving. It's really hard to kind of latch onto what about it, but it feels like you're just kind of going forward and moving. There's this sense of exploration, and especially when you get into, with this song, with many of their other songs, where you have sort of the long form guitar and it's a lot more instrumental heavy, it just feels like you're just kind of floating or moving forward. It's really hard to pin down. And for anyone listening who kind of has a sense of what I'm talking about, if you can put it into better words, please put it in the comment section, because it's just this feeling of travel, and I don't know how else to put it. But it's so good. And it's just, this song is really indicative of what this album is, which is, I feel, the band sort of kind of figuring out their strengths and how they work together as a unit. I think with later albums, the band knows what their strengths are and how they work together, when to let Tony take up his part, when to let Geezer take up his part, when to let Ozzy to shine, or when to let Bill to shine. They figure that out in later albums so that they can kind of construct the album in a way, and each song in a way, where they know who to refer to, who to defer to, and who is best served out of the four of them in that particular part of that song on that album. And in this album, I really feel like it's them figuring that out and seeing how it all comes together, and kind of figuring out what their strengths are and how they work together, and how their different unique talents and their unique sounds flow together. And I think part of that is, we see, once we get to Paranoid, a shift in Ozzy's voice. And I think that part of that is, in this album, he's kind of figuring out what kind of notes he can hit, what range he has, and then he kind of evolves a little bit more in the other albums. So this was Wasp / Behind the Wall Sleep. Great song. I really enjoy it. It's just one of those great sort of flowing middle parts of this album. It's not a song. Behind the Wall of Sleep is not a song. I feel like a lot of really big Sabbath fans know it, but it's not one that's talked about in the top 10 or 15. It's not going to be one. It's not on the same par as Black Sabbath, I don't think. It's not on the same par as Supernaut or Killing Yourself to Live. It's not on like the top tier of Sabbath, but it's just one of those, when you listen to it, you're like, this is really good. It's got good rhythm. It's got good feel, even though it wouldn't necessarily be one that everybody's talking about. So anyways, that's my thoughts on Behind the Wall Sleep. Question is, what do you think? I really want to know. In the comments, let me know. First of all, if you can put into better words than I did my feeling about the sense of travel and moving forward with a lot of the freeform guitar, put that in the comments. But also just let me know, what are your thoughts on the song in general, on the album in general. Make sure to come back when we do the other part of this, when we talk about Basically, and we talk about NIB. So my name's Nathaniel Molnar. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe for more. And until our next observation, until we continue on our way through the Black Sabbath albums, until we move on to NIB, Thanks for watching.